Hello, everybody. I think we're going to get started now. So I just wanted to welcome everyone to our live and interactive webinar for GL Chart of Accounts Conversion. Thank you for joining us. My name is Nancy Oliver, and I'm a sales representative for PICS. Joining me today is Dave Stevens, our VP of Sales, and Cindy Allred, our Senior Applications Consultant. Our GL Chart of Accounts Conversion Suite solution is a powerful suite of software designed to overcome the difficulties or challenges involved in changing your general ledger chart of accounts in your QAD system. Cindy? In our agenda for today, I will provide an overview of PICS and offer highlights of our solution, followed by a demo. We encourage you to send in your questions, and they will all be addressed after the demo if time allows, or individually after the webinar concludes. Our Senior Applications Consultant, Cindy Allred, will demo the GL Chart of Accounts solution. Cindy has been with PICS for 17 years and has over 20 years of QAD experience. She currently provides support for our clients and does custom design and development. In the demo, Cindy will show QAD version 2007 SE, but note this will work with any version of QAD from version 7 up to 2014 SE. Cindy? Who is PICS? PICS is a QAD solution partner and has been in business for over 20 years. We provide business process automation and IT outsource managed services. We have a deep understanding of the QAD system. In 1995, we were established as one of the first QAD Alliance partners. Then in 2009, we expanded our relationship with QAD and were awarded solution partner status. And then again in 2015, PICS received the Progress Software's prestigious Innovator of North America Award. Now at this point, I'm going to turn the presentation over to Cindy, and she can review the product and also provide a short demo followed by the question and answer session. Cindy?
Hello, everybody. This is Cindy Allred, as she mentioned. To first tell you a little bit about the Geo Conversion Tool and how it works. It was originally developed in 1995 for one of our large QAD clients. They were merging two divisions at that time that were running MFG Pro version 7.3. For those of you who've been in the QAD space for a while, you recall it used to be called that. It's since been upgraded and now enhanced for all versions of QAD from version 7 up to QAD 2014 SD. We are not currently supporting EE at this time. The product enables you to convert your entire chart of accounts in the QAD database. That includes all the data, the control files, your static or master data, such as customers, suppliers, product lines, your open orders, including work orders, sales orders, purchase orders, any of your transactional data, such as maybe vouchers, receivers, and, of course, your history, your general ledger history, as well as operation history, inventory, pretty much the entire database. The way we do this is we create a cross-reference table of account, sub-account, and cost center combinations that contain old values that are currently used in your QAD database. And we map those to a set of new values that you want to go to. The application finds and replaces all the old values with all the new values everywhere in your QAD database as if the old ones had never existed. It provides some nice, robust error checking that will allow you to highlight if you have any old or new cross-references that might have been missed in your mapping, or perhaps if you have a QAD rule that's about to be broken, say a change of currency on an existing account number. If QAD won't let you do it, we try not to do the same. It also will do some identification of any old invalid data. Say, I actually had one customer that had some old invalid accounts in their sales data that was over 10 years old, and they didn't even know it was there. And the conversion tool identified this. We tracked down where the account information came from, and it allowed them to actually correct their data. What about it? This product will also let you change entity codes if you'd like to throughout the entire database. The process is very similar to the account cost center combination with the same types of error checking. In fact, it actually runs as part of the account conversion, so you only have to plan to run one conversion to convert everything. So it's very simple. It's an easy application to use. You simply create a cross-reference map, and you can do that in one of two ways. You can either manually type in the cross-reference using our little simple maintenance program, or you can export those values, all the old values, out into Excel, create the cross-reference there, then import them back into the application in QAD. After you've done that, you'll want to validate your mapping information using reports that we provide. You'll want to correct any missed values or any invalid information and continue to revalidate until things look good, and that would include correcting any old data, as I mentioned earlier. And then once all of your reports are clean and validated and you're ready to go, then you convert the database. A few extra features that I like to note. We have Excel integration, as I mentioned, that allows you really fast and efficient way to create a list of your cross-references rather than having to manually go out there and figure what you've used and maybe miss one or two. We also have wildcard functionality. This is most helpful if you're changing a subset of data. Say you're realigning the cost centers in your manufacturing area. You just take, particularly good if you have multiple old values that are going to a single new value and you're only doing a portion of the database, so you can use wildcards. We also have pre-conversion data validation as well as some good time estimates. The pre-conversion validation makes sure that all the accounts that you intend to convert will actually be converted. And as you're doing the export, it gives you a very nice report showing an idea of exactly how long it's going to take to run the tables, all the tables in your database based on the size of your database and what server it's running on, which will help with your timing your conversion. The multiple sessions refers to, actually, for the IT folks out there, this product is set up so that it can be run multi-threaded. And that basically reduces the total amount of time to convert a large database so that you can get that large database done over the course of a weekend. Because obviously you would not want to have users on there adding new data while you're in the process of changing it. So we also provide conversion monitoring during the running of the utility. There's an on-screen update showing you what's going on and how things are progressing. And we provide some audit reports showing what files were converted, how long did it take each one, and a list of all the cross-reference data that was used that you can hand over to your external auditors. In addition, you can also remove any inactive master data. As part of it just runs as part of the conversion. This is an optional function, and it would really apply if you have, say, you're running account. I currently am using 4-character accounts, and I want to change to 6-character accounts. So I'm no longer going to use any of those 4-character ones. Then what we can do is mark those as inactive in your account master. And if you'd like to, as an additional step, we can also you can run a little utility that we provide that will actually go out and delete those entirely so that they are completely out of your account master. So that's really a little bit about the product. Now what I'd like to do is actually show you how it works. So let's go over to QAD here. I'm actually running you can see here, this is the character version of QAD. It just demos a little bit better here, and we find that with the conversion itself, that tends to run better in character, although it should be supported in NetUI as well. Today I'm using QAD 2007 SE. However, the utility looks exactly the same for all of the versions of QAD. Doesn't really matter other than the fact that you may or may not have domain in an older version. So we provide this extra menu that will be installed on your QAD menu depending on where you select to put it. I chose option 2510 for our picks menu here. And so we'll get started looking. We would first want to start by doing, there are 2 ways to load your cross-reference. We can either manually type them in this program that we provide. And as I noted, it's a simple program, simple, add in old values, add in your new values, very simple. The preferred method, though, as I mentioned, seems to be the export. People like the export. It's much easier to use. It also shows you it gives you some good time information. So today I thought I'd show you the export functionality and how that works, since that seems to be the preferred method. So this is what the export screen looks like. You tell it where you'd like to put that text file that we're ultimately going to bring into Excel, and we run the report, run the export. In the interest of time today, I've already run that, so I'd like to show you. I'll start with that. So in Excel here, what I did basically is pull to file into Excel. When I brought it in, I only had domain and my old account cost center values. The news were all blank at that time. And what I did as demo is basically copy the old values to the new columns, and then I modified a few of the account values so we could see some changes in accounts. So you can see here account 3535 after our conversion should be changed to a new account number 3535 with a new sub-account of 10. Our old account 1036 should change to account 3636 with a new sub-account of 20. And then down in my accounts payable accounts, which is account number 2100, I believe, down in the list here we go. Number 2100, I have changed to decided to use a 6-character account of 992100. If you also note all these interesting lists off to the side here, the export also provides you with a list of all the places where this particular value was found. So if I'm looking at maybe this combination here and saying, I have no idea where that came from, I've never used account 2200 with a cost center of W-10, I can look and say, well, that came from PL Master. And if you're an IT person or if you use a lot of browsers and things like that, you start to know the table names and say, oh, well, that's the product line master. So there must be a product line to find out there somewhere that's using that combination. So at least I have a clue as to where it's being used and how I might want to address it and change it in my new setup. So that it provides the export provides this Excel. In addition to that, it also provides you with a listing of how long it took to run tables. So as it went through the tables and looked for the old values, it also gave us time estimates as to when it stopped and when it started, or when it started and stopped, rather. And so as we go through this list, we can look for any of it. Obviously, these numbers are very small because it's a small demo database, but in a larger database, we could see some very large elapsed times for perhaps our general ledger, our actual general ledger, or maybe inventory history, inventory transaction history detail if you're not good about purging, or you've had your database in process for a long time. So this will start giving you an idea of what the heavy hitters might be in your system, so that you can help to try to plan your conversion and try to set up your multi-threading properly so that we can get that done in a weekend. So let's go back to QAD here, and so now we run our export. We'd want to change our values, which we did in Excel, and the next thing we of course want to do is bring those back into the product using the import. So to do that, we simply run this import utility. That's my file name. I'm going to say update yes. And I'm not going to bypass my old validations because I'd actually like to see if I have any old accounts that are causing me problems. And we'll run that to page so everybody can see it. And we got a blank report. And in this situation, a blank report is a good report because that means we had no invalid old data and everything's fine. So now that we've run our import, let's take a look and see what it brought in. The first thing I'd like to do is run my validations. So I'm going to run my validation report, and this is the key report for most conversions. I'll run it wide open so that we make sure we get everything. And I note errors were detected. So it gives me a heads up so I don't have to go through the entire report. Now what errors we had? I see we've got an error on an invalid currency. If you remember QAD, once you start using an account, for example, you cannot change currency on it. So I suspect that we probably have a currency difference between account 1036 and account 3636. So let's go out to QAD and take a quick look at that. we can check our old account first, and we see that was originally in Mexican pesos. And the account, sorry about that, the account we are going to, I can get my QAD numbers right or get my fingers working, one of the two. The account we're planning to transfer to, we can see, is still sitting in USD, and oops, we meant to type that in as pesos when we set it up. So let's change that over to Mexican pesos. And we'll run that conversion again, and or the validation again, make sure that it's clean. And this time we got no errors detected, so we know that the validation is clean. It provides you some error checking. It also provides you a complete list of what you're going from and what you're going to. So that's that validation. In addition, we've got another validation report that's really most helpful. It's the pre-conversion mapping report. We find that one to be most helpful when you're using wildcards. If you're doing a subset of your database, again, maybe convert the just the cost centers in my manufacturing area, or maybe I'm changing up the way I do my sales sub-accounts. So in those instances, you might want to use the sub-account map, the wildcard mapping. And to do that, this again just shows you what the old value is, what the new value is going to be. But the other thing it shows you is how it got there. Because when you're using wildcards, you could actually have multiple wildcards that both apply to this particular combination. Because with wildcards, you can use all sorts of, I can star the sub-accounts, I can put a portion of an account with a star so that I could have more than one match. So in that case, the software will select the best wildcard to use based on a set of priorities, kind of similar to the way best pricing works with prioritization and within QAD. So this just tells you what wildcard mapping was used in order to find this result. So we've done our validations. So the next step in our process would be to run the actual conversion. However, prior to doing that, I always find it helpful to know where I'm coming from. So let's take a quick look at a few, again, if I can get my fingers to work, which don't seem to be happening today. We'll take a look at a couple of values that are currently in our database and see what values are there. That way we'll be able to how they change after we run the conversion. So we've got a purchases account here of 5,100, and I didn't make any changes to that account. I left 5,100 as the same value. I don't expect that to change. I've got my AP account 2,100, and if you recall on my spreadsheet, I had that set to change to a 6-character account of 99,2,100, so I expect to see a change there. And we'll look at a posted voucher. Again, my fingers are just not behaving today. There we go. And within our voucher information, one thing that we have is our AP account. Again, I'm expecting that to change to 99,2,100. And if I look at my distribution, I've got a couple of accounts here that were mapped to themselves, so I expect those to remain the same. And then lastly, we'll take a look at some posted general ledger information just to see what those look like. And I've got a couple of transactions out here that highlight some of our accounts that we intend to change. So take a look at that. I have my AP account, again, expecting that to be a 99,2,100. I expect these two to remain the same. And here I added a couple of entries, cash accounts. And I'm expecting account 1035 to convert to account 3535, and I'm going to add a new sub-account to that of 10. Do not expect this account to change because I mapped it to itself. I expect this one to go from 1035 to 3535 with a new sub-account of 10, and this one should be a 3636 with a new sub-account of 20. So now that we've taken a look at a few of just some data around the QAD database, let's actually run the conversion. So here's the conversion utility. The process groups are the total number of groups that you have. Process groups are groups of tables. So we start out with a basic set of 6, but we can certainly add to that if you're breaking up your general ledger into multiple groups in order to have it run multi-threaded because that ledger table is just too large. You might have 10 groups, for example, and in that case, we'd have 1 to 10 there. So we just want to run all of our groups. Maximum process, which is how many threads do I want to run at the same time? How many things do I want to have running side by side? Today, I'll pick 4. And so I should be running no more than 4 processes at a time, and it will just hold the rest of them until it'll only run the max of 4 at a time. So as one finishes, it should roll in another one to get started. Do I want to set my old values to inactive? If you remember, I mentioned that if you're doing a complete conversion, you may want to set those to inactive, and this just flips that inactive flag in QAD for your accounts, for your sub-accounts, for your cost centers. And am I converting entities today? And I'm not, so I'm going to leave that set to no. If you recall, I mentioned that was optional. So we are going to kick off the conversion. Do we want to start it? Yes, we do. And right now what it's doing is it's actually going out, because this is a data-driven product for the table names and things, it is out there actually building little programs to start running the conversion. And then you'll see the little programs start to kick off. So here process group 1 has completed, because I see a start and end time. Now I see 4 has completed. And so they kind of complete depending on how much data is out there and how many tables are in that group. So this just continually updates, allowing you to watch what's going on with the conversion. That very last group won't kick off until the end, and that is it's a QAD utility used for the account balances table, and we actually just run that utility rather than reinventing the wheel. That utility works fabulously. QAD did a really nice job of providing that, so why reinvent the wheel? So we run the QAD utility at the end to take your detailed general ledger and summarize it into the account balance table. So I see our conversion is completed now. In addition to converting the data, as I mentioned, it also provides you with a little bit of information. One thing is this audit file. It's a text file that's very Excel friendly that can be used to show your auditors exactly what you did. And then in addition, we have a report showing us what happened table-wise. So you can see that we ran the conversion. We see every group in that group, what time that table started, what time it stopped, and elapsed times. And those control files were so fast, they don't even show up as far as elapsed. Once we get into some of the larger tables, we should see sometimes there's a 45 seconds there on that group. That was on the entire group. But anyway, this report will show you when things started, when things stopped, and how long the process each one. There's one that ran against. So the OPGL, the operation history information. So in addition, so that's one piece of it. The other piece, as I mentioned, that it showed that this export provides is the report for your auditor. It's basically a roadmap for your auditors. If I can get to the right thing here, there we go. Export. So a piece of, I'm sorry, I'm on the wrong slide. The other piece it shows is the audit text. Sorry about that. Audit text is it's a list, it's a good roadmap for your auditors. So when you bring your external auditors in, and last year they were looking at the AP and they have information from last year and they want to kind of repeat the same steps, and they know everything is account 2100 in the AP world, they look over and they say, oh my gosh, you've got totally different accounts. I don't know how to map this to what I did last year. This is a great little file that you can drop into Excel for them and allow them to have an easy roadmap of where you were and where you are now, so that there's no confusion there. So now that we've run our export, run our conversion, well, let's see if it actually did what we intended for it to do. So we'll go out and take the same values that we looked at to begin with. So we're going to go out to our again, and we'll look at that same supplier. We have a little bit of a lag there. There we go. You can see that our purchases account did not change as expected, and our AP account is now at 2100 instead of the original 2100. And let's look at that same voucher again. And see, there's the voucher number. And again, we started out with AP account 2100. We see that changed as we expected it to. And if we look at our distribution, I expected those to remain the same since I mapped them to themselves, and they did. And lastly, we'll take a look back again at our general ledger Postitions. I believe those were for September 7th. And again, we have our AP account change. These two did not. And if we look at those cash accounts where we added some sub-accounts, I can now see that those values changed as well. Account 35 to, or 1035 to 535, and added a new sub-account of 10. This guy remained the same because I mapped him to himself. This one changed from 1035 to 3535 with the new sub-account, and 1036 changed to 3636 with the new sub-account of 20. So looks like the export did exactly what we intended for it to do. So at this point, we'll go back to our presentation here. And let's be on the wrong side. There we go. Let's go here instead. How about that? That's better. Okay. And so I think at this point, I'll let Nancy take over here with the rest of the presentation.
Okay, thank you, Cindy. And hopefully everyone was able to hear. I know there was a little bit of breakup in the microphone. We'll make sure we answer any questions offline as well. We had a list of questions that were submitted, and so we wanted to review these. And in the interest of time, if you have additional questions beyond anything here that we don't answer, please submit those to me. I have a slide up here with my email address, but you'll be able to respond. We'll make sure we get all the questions answered. And what we'll do is any questions that come in, we will actually forward the answers to everyone who attended. And we'll keep them anonymous of who sent them, but that way everyone, in case they have the same question, maybe that all the questions will be addressed. And we also are recording this webinar, and I'll be sending a copy of it out to everyone in case they wanted to share it with someone else within your organization as well. One of the first questions that we had, I'm going to be reading the questions, and Cindy will provide some of the answers, and then also Dave is going to chime in as well. So hopefully we'll be able to get most of the general questions answered now. First is, what are the implications and benefits of updating your GL chart of accounts? Cindy?
Well, there, as I mentioned during the presentation, one thing might be that you're merging, say, what the original company was doing. You might be merging two companies into one. You've recently had an acquisition, and they have a completely different legacy set of accounts, and you want to get everybody on the same page. So that's certainly one use. If you're a mature QAD account and maybe you're upgrading to EE, and you want to take advantage of the new flexibility in EE that allows you some additional elements in your account structure, you might want to revamp what you've got already so that you can then add to it once you're in EE. So prior to an EE conversion, I'm finding that a lot of people are using this product to do that, to kind of revamp what they have already. And, you know, perhaps you've just been on QAD, you've been running QAD for 10 years, 12 years, and you're like, you know, at the time when we first implemented, this is what made sense for us, but it just doesn't make sense for our business anymore. We've changed, and we want to track information differently. So for lots of those types of reasons, it's a good reason to consider changing your chart of accounts, and if you're going to do that, then this would be a product to use.
Okay. Thank you, Cindy. Another question was, I am upgrading QAD. Is it better to run the conversion before my upgrade or after?
Well, it's one of those answers that depends. If you're upgrading to EE, certainly you will want to do it before you do your upgrade, because we're not currently supporting any of the EE edition. However, if you're running an older version, if you're upgrading from, you can do 2011 SE to 2014 SE. Should I upgrade before or after? That choice just really becomes yours. It's how it works out in your conversion schedule as part of your upgrade schedule. And perhaps it may have something to do with how you're setting up your new environment. If you'd like to have the information changed before you're in your new environment, then it would certainly make sense to upgrade beforehand, or to do your conversion before your upgrade. And doing it beforehand would also take it out of that large conversion weekend when you're trying to do it, separates it so that you're not having to do everything in a single weekend. It's to minimize your downtime. So.
Thank you. All right, I have multiple domains and multiple databases. How are those handled?
Well, within the tool only runs on one database at a time. So as you could see during the demo, if I have multiple domains within that database, then you can either run those individually by selecting, if you notice each of the screens had a domain option. If you leave that blank, it would run across all domains that are defined on that database. If you were to select one, as my slides happen to be showing today, then it would only run within that one domain. And so then it becomes a matter of choice. Do I want to do a big conversion all in one weekend, or do I want to hit one domain at a time? Do one domain this weekend, one domain the following weekend, so that the impact to the users and the scheduling is a little bit easier. And then the databases themselves would have to be converted individually. I mean, obviously they could all be run at the same time. If they're running on the same server, you might really overtax your server at that point. So that might make more sense to break those out.
Okay, great, thanks. And then this question, Dave, if you could handle this one. What is the cost of the software and services?
Yeah, great. The good news is this tends not to be a CapEx cost, which requires corner office approval, and you actually still may have some budget in 2016 for a cost of this, which is roughly $12,000. Obviously, individually, we look forward to speaking with each of you about that, but I think that's a good rough cost estimate for you, and again, that's about $12,000.
Thank you, Dave. Does it have to be run at the month end, or is any weekend okay?
Actually, typically you would think in the financial world that, oh, everything has to happen at month end, but I find sometimes that people do better not on a month end, because that way you're not trying to lump in your month end closing along with this conversion. So any weekend is fine. A weekend's preferred, obviously, because you can have time to have the users off the system, because, as I mentioned during the demo or during the presentation, you don't want to have users on there actively adding information while we're in the process of running through and making all those changes. So you want all your users off. So weekends and downtime are preferable there. So, but really, any weekend's okay, because the bottom line is you're going to run some reports that show your baseline data, like I did a small sample of there, and then you're going to run the conversion, and then afterwards we're going to run that same baseline data again and make sure that the results are what you expected. So any weekend is fine.
Great, thanks. Now, do I have to be upgrading to use the software? And this question is kind of like two-part, like upgrading either, as you mentioned earlier, to a different version of SE or from SE to EE. Do we have to be upgrading to use the software?
No. Classic example of that is maybe I just upgraded to 2014 SE, and oh, guess what? We are now acquiring a new company. Had nothing to do with the upgrade, and I'm upgraded where I want to be at the moment. But still, you've gotten a new company. The company has legacy data that doesn't match yours. So at that point, you might want to change their information to. But they might have been running QAD. Maybe they're running QAD, but they were running a different set of accounts that have nothing to do, nothing like what you've been running historically. So you may want to change the legacy data to match what you're running, or perhaps maybe you want to, do a combination of the two things and kind of get a whole new set that works for everybody. So let's see that done as well. So no, you do not have to be upgrading.
Okay, great, thanks. And typically, how long does it take to run the conversion?
That is the $1,000, million-dollar question. It really, that's a true really depends answer. It depends on how long have you been running QAD. Do you have everything set to post to the general ledger in detail? Do you have a good habit of doing delete archives on your inventory transaction information and on your operation history? or in your invoice, your sales data, or invoice history? Do you leave that? It's been out there running for 15 years, and you've got 15 years worth of detailed data. The more data you've got, obviously, the longer it's going to take, because it's going to have to touch every record to make those changes. The other big impacting factor would be how much horsepower have you got on your server? How much space have you got on that QAD server to allow all this stuff to happen? And then again, how do we set up our multi-prod? There are some things we have control over, which would be that multi-thread processing. How have we set up those processors? Did you run one test conversion and then say, okay, I'm done, or did you run many of them? Did you test convert 5 or 6 times, like I've seen some larger customers do, in order to fine-tune that and get it down to exactly how fast can we get this to run with all this data in order to make this happen in a weekend? So the answer is it really depends. I've seen people do it in as little as a day, and I had one that ran a full weekend and then actually ended up, we ran some of the very, very old general ledger during the next weekend. We got the most current 3 years or so done on the main conversion weekend, and then the next weekend we came back down again and did the previous, I think it was about 12 years worth, because I think they had about 15 years total in the general ledger. So we ran their old data the next weekend, and the users just knew that during that week we were going to have a mixture in the general ledger for that 1 week. So we were able to get it in weekends without having to have people lose productivity time.
Okay,
the
great.
answer is depends.
That's great. There is one question that came in. I don't know if you want to try to address this now. It's from one of our attendees. I'll only read it and see if it's something. It seems kind of easy. It says, during the conversion process program, the process program was pausing for 3 seconds. Is it possible to skip or somehow not include the pause, as it may have a bigger impact for huge data?
I don't know that that's really impacting the data, because I don't think it's really impacting the time, because of the fact that what it's monitoring our processes, it's running separate programs that are spawned in the background running. So it's just monitoring what's happening on the spawned program. So we could possibly, if that really made a difference in your conversion, we could do a little tweak there to not show the on-screen updates if that's what you'd like to do. I mean, it's certainly possible. That's not adding any conversion other than giving you the peace of mind to know that it's running. It's not really impacting the actual data updates. So if you wanted to see it, if you wanted to have it run blind, we could certainly work something like that out with you. But the product ships with it showing up with the on-screen updates. But we could certainly suppress those if that made a big difference for you. So, yep.
Okay. I just I don't know how much time you want to allow. There is one other question if you want to maybe take this, or this might be important for some people that are on the call, if you don't mind. They're asking, does this utility work for QAD implemented in Europe region? I think they have some special things for European accounting.
Yes. Yes. As in the extra module for European accounting. Yes. Yes. We can handle the European accounting tables as well.
Okay. Sounds great. Again, Cindy, if you don't mind switching the screen one more, I believe I have a screen with my email address again up, and any questions that you have, or if you would like to maybe have a separate demo or something directly for your company or other members of your company, we will certainly be willing to talk to you offline. Again, any questions that you send to me, I will make sure that we share with everyone. We won't say, we'll keep them anonymous, but at least that way if someone maybe forgot to answer that question. So I thank everyone for joining us today, and enjoy the rest of your day, and we look forward to hearing from you soon.